My idea to become a Navy SEAL was me on my couch at 297 pounds with a box of mini donuts and a chocolate milkshake. It was like some eureka moment. Over a period of time of just living in my own head, I got sick of being haunted by being nobody. I was in the Air Force for about 4 years, and my big thing was I wanted to be Air Force pararescueman, some of the best medics on the planet Earth. As I got in the program, I started realizing that they had this thing called water confidence. Basically, they make you very uncomfortable underwater. So I realized at that point in time that I hated being underwater. I hated holding my breath. For 6 weeks, I hung in the program. I didn't sleep at all for fear of going back to the pool, for fear of drowning in my head. About 6 weeks in, we had this physical, and they realized I have sickle cell trait. Back in the day, I used to lie about whatever made me feel insecure. On my official paperwork out of pararescue training, it has David Goggins left on a medical. But the truth of the matter is, I left because I quit. I had to find a different job in the Air Force. In 4 years being in the Air Force, I gained 125 pounds. I get out of the Air Force, and I'm working for a job spraying for cockroaches. 40 restaurants I was in charge of. I go in there at nighttime and I spray. I would stop at Steak and Shake, get a large chocolate milkshake. I would go across the street to 7-Eleven, get a box of mini donuts. On the way home, I'd be popping donuts like Tic Tacs. I would get home, turn the TV on. This is my routine. Start taking a shower and listen to the TV as I'm showering. This particular day, I started hearing Navy SEALs, toughest training. And I was hearing it cut out between the water hitting my ears. So I came out of the shower. At the end of the show, this commanding officer gives a speech. He says, "We live in a society where mediocrity is often rewarded. These 22 men detest mediocrity." I invented this thing called the accountability mirror when I was growing up. And I got a chance to go into that mirror and look at myself and call myself out. I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. Being raw and real about who I am and about what I'm hiding from. And so to overcome all this, my bright idea was to try to become the one thing I was afraid of, a Navy SEAL. That day, I started calling recruiters up. And for 2 weeks, this happened. This recruiter laughed at me, that recruiter laughed at me, this recruiter said, "There's no way." And every time I heard a no, I said, "No, it's not meant to be." So I get back in my car and start driving back to work. And after I'd be at work for a few hours, man, I said, "Man, you can't give up that easy." So finally I said, "This is my last call I'm gonna make." He was real busy. He said, "Just come on in." People don't walk in the office trying to be a Navy SEAL weighing 297 pounds. You walk in looking the way I look now. So he brought me back to a scale, and I remember looking in front of me was a height weight chart. For me, I'm 6'1". I could only weigh 191. I had to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months. So I went on this crazy routine and eating hardly nothing. And in less than 3 months, I lost 106 pounds. I'm the only person in Navy SEAL history to be in 3 Hell Weeks in 1 year. The Hell Week is 130 hours of continuous training. I got in the Hell Week, got double pneumonia, stress fractures, got rolled back to day 1, week 1. I broke my kneecap. So I reported back to day 1 of Navy SEAL training broken. And we had a guy die in my 3rd Hell Week. So Hell Week ended about 30 hours early. I had severe stress fractures. My knee is now blown up again. I knew I wasn't gonna get a chance to go back through Hell Week again. I made a decision to myself, there's no more quitting. So that's when I went and got duct tape. For the first 45 minutes, the duct tape hurt like hell. But after 45 minutes, my legs would go numb. Once stuff goes numb, you can't feel it. So that's how I went through the rest of 22 more weeks of Navy SEAL training. I was already at rock bottom my whole life. So when you know how rock bottom feels, you don't mind sleeping in the sewer. So at that point, once I realized that I already experienced the bottom, I no longer had fear of failure. But this took a long time. It's one like I woke up and, oh, eureka, I got it. And I started realizing that the mind is the most powerful weapon that we have. Once I was able to quiet my mind and realize that I was really not cursed, but blessed to have so many tools that I never saw as tools. While growing up, so much hardship. Only thing that can happen to me now is this victory. When you hang around a guy like me that has that kind of mentality, you end up pissing a lot of people off. A lot of people don't want to wake up to a David Goggins because I feel guilty. If I haven't achieved every day, I'm constantly earning. I call it day one, week one. In Navy SEAL training, I got rolled back to there 3 times. That mentality at day one, week one, you're an animal. You're fighting for everything, man. If you want to be there, you're a dog. You're nasty. You don't care if it's cold. You don't care how miserable you are. You're fighting. But once you start realizing the system, how you can game it. Like for instance, before you go to a job interview, you lay your clothes out. You got your bowl out for your oatmeal, your protein shake, everything's laid out the day before. You show up 30 minutes early. You're prepped. You're studied. You get the job. That may last for a month or 2. But once you realize, I got the job, man, I'm good. Your standard starts to do this. You start to fit in with everybody else. Have the same mentality you had when you went for day one of the job interview when you had no money and you needed the job. That's the mentality. We lose that mentality because one simple fact, we get used to the job. So we get civilized. We stop impressing people. I don't have a lot of friends. It rubs everybody the wrong way, and that's fine. But what I do know is that's the kind of person that I want to work with me in my life. I want a person that every single day of their life, they have their suit out and they have their bowl ready to go. They got everything set up in the morning time so they know every single second of the day has to be occupied by getting better. You have to listen to that voice in your head. Once that voice gets too far away from you because you're so comfortable, you're never going to rein it back in. It's just gone. For me, you have some disciplines of life. Discipline is a word that's thrown around everywhere. It's self-discipline. It's accountability. What are you really doing every single day to hold yourself accountable? Do you leave your house a mess? Does it bother you when you leave your bed unmade? Does it bother you when you leave your house and you got dishes in it? Does it bother you when you don't put your clothes back? It's the small details. And all these small things add up to the bigger things of life. If you really want to be special, it's not the CEO, it's the Bill Gates of the world. It's those people who have all the money in the world and say, you know what, it's not enough. It's not about the money now. Now I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm going there. That's the outlier mindset. How do you become uncommon amongst the uncommon? That's when you become an outlier. And that's when people don't like you so much anymore, because now you made the uncommon feel common. The most common piece of advice that CEOs ask for me is how. How did I develop this kind of mindset? Because these are a lot of powerful women and men in the world who got to a very high level. And after they hear my story and where I came from, they want to know, how did you develop this mindset? It goes right back to, what do you want out of your life? That's what they ask me. And I say, basically what happened to you is you had a finish line. I want to be a CEO. I'm there. Once you got a CEO, you started building off the CEO versus building up. You started building out, which means you stopped. You cannot stop when you're tired. You stop when you're done. Everybody's walking around like this, looking at their phone, walking, bumping into stuff. Then they go home. They're the same way. Then they go home and they're here. Then they go home and they're flipping through channels. Then they go home and they're talking on the phone. How are you going to figure out your purpose if you haven't figured out first yet in the quiet spot what you need to do? The whole thing about all this is important to be alone. That's step one. You got to be alone in your own thoughts. Quiet the world down. Number 2, you got to sit back and find your purpose. What is my purpose in life? Why am I here? Is just to pay bills and wake up and kiss the dog goodbye and go to work and work 9 to 5? Is that your purpose? Merry Christmas. We all found it. Number 3, once you find your purpose, now your goal setting. I have these goals I have here. What are my goals? What am I doing here? You got your goals lined up. Great. Next, number 4, what in the world? I got to put a plan together now, because you can't do anything without having a plan. Your goals will fall. How am I going to plan to do these goals? And the biggest thing is, the last thing is a call to action. That right there is when you know, that call for action, when you now have to put all this stuff into work. We love the planning phase. The planning phase is a comfortable phase in your room, in your house. Nice temperature, no judgment, no failure, no nothing. That's the planning phase. We live there a lot. This is where the majority of us fail, because the call for action is a place where when that alarm clock goes off, I don't care if you're trying to work out or trying to study or whatever it is, that's when you know, am I real or am I fake?